Good morning, live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Coming up in the next hour. Counting of votes for state assembly elections in India's Jharkhand and Maharashtra. Results of by-polls held across 48 assembly seats and 2 parliamentary constituencies also to be announced. Putin vows Russia will keep testing new missile in combat. Ukraine's Zelensky calls use of missile a severe escalation. Sentencing in Donald Trump's hush money case postponed indefinitely. A legal win for the US president-elect as he prepares to return to the White House. And in sports, after staging a sensational comeback on day one of the Perth Test, India looks to wrap up the Aussie innings. And today, through the day, we bring you the latest on the big state election results from Maharashtra and Jharkhand. Let's begin with the poll updates. Just past 8 a.m. this morning, news just coming in. Counting has begun for the state assembly elections in East India's Jharkhand and the West Indian state of Maharashtra. As is the tradition, postal ballots are being counted first. The counting has begun for Jharkhand and Maharashtra. Voting for Maharashtra State Assembly was held on November 20th. Voting for Maharashtra State Assembly was held in a single phase. Recorded some 66.05% voter turnout. This was the highest voter turnout in 30 years for the Western state. Meanwhile, Jharkhand voted in 2 phases for 81 assembly constituencies. Phase 1 on November 13th. The second phase took place on November 20th. Over 67% voting recorded in Jharkhand. So high voter turnout in both Maharashtra as well as Jharkhand. News is coming in. The counting has begun for both Maharashtra and Jharkhand. First half an hour from 8 a.m. It's the postal ballots that are counted, and thereafter the EVM votes are taken into account. The update just coming in. Maharashtra voting for 288 assembly seats voted on November 20th. Meanwhile, Jharkhand voted for 81 seats in 2 phases. Maharashtra had voted in a single phase. The counting has just begun. In a short while from now, we'll know the initial trends. Those will be of the postal ballots. Maharashtra, the significant aspect of these elections was 66.05% voter turnout. This was the highest in about 30 years. Meanwhile, Jharkhand, the eastern state, voted in 2 phases for 81 assembly constituencies. Phase 1 of Jharkhand elections on November 13th, and second phase took place on November 20th. We talk about the Jharkhand voter turnout, 66.65% in phase 1 and 68% and above in phase 2. The counting has just begun for the state assembly elections in Jharkhand and Maharashtra. Political destinies of several regional parties are going to be decided in the outcome of these elections. Maharashtra voted for 288 assembly seats on November 20th. The voting took place in a single phase. The counting has just begun. Anytime now, the initial trends would start coming in. Those would be the postal ballots first half an hour. We're also showing you important data regarding the elections. Over 66% voting took place in the western state of Maharashtra. This was the highest in 30 years. Jharkhand, meanwhile, voted in 2 phases for 81 assembly constituencies. In Maharashtra, the stakes are high for both the BJP-led ruling Mahayuti alliance and the Congress-led coalition Mahavikas Aghadi. We'll refer to it as MVA as well. Mahayuti coalition comprising Bharatiya Janata Party, Chief Minister Eknath Shinde-led Shiv Sena in alliance with Ajit Pawar faction of the NCP is aiming to retain power, while MVA, Mahavikas Aghadi, comprising Congress, Shiv Sena, the Uddhav Thackeray faction led by Uddhav Thackeray, and Sharad Pawar's NCP is aiming for a comeback. Maharashtra went to polls on 20th of November, reported over 65% of voting, which is the highest in the last 30 years. And the second state in focus, Jharkhand. Jharkhand, polling for 81 assembly seats was conducted in two phases. On 13th of November and 20th, over 68.45% voting was recorded in the state. The election overall, that is, across two phases. The election is crucial for both the ruling Jharkhand Mukti Morcha (JMM) led alliance and the Bharatiya Janata Party. Incumbent JMM government led by Chief Minister Hemant Soren aims to retain power, while the BJP is focusing on reclaiming its position after losing in 2019. And besides these two big states, more election updates coming in today. Along with these states, the counting for votes for the by-polls for 48 assembly constituencies and 2 parliamentary constituencies is also being held today. The counting of votes for the by-polls to 46 assembly seats in 13 states and in the Lok Sabha segments of Nanded in Maharashtra and Wayanad in Kerala. Crucial electoral exercise since the parliamentary polls in April-May this year. Congress General Secretary Priyanka Gandhi Vadra is making her poll debut from Wayanad. Remember, that's a seat that was won in the general or the Lok Sabha elections by her brother Rahul Gandhi. Rahul Gandhi, who also won the Rai Bareilly seat in Uttar Pradesh, later chose to vacate the Wayanad seat in Kerala. And those are visuals coming in from across these states and the regions where the counting is on today. Security has been heightened across the region so that the counting day goes on smoothly. 2 big state election results are going to be declared today, Maharashtra and Jharkhand. Along with it, a number of by-polls as well, both assembly as well as parliamentary constituencies. A number of regional parties are going to have their political destiny determined. And to take us forward for this special coverage of the elections, joining me is Aditi Tandon, a senior journalist, associate editor from the Tribune. Good morning and welcome, Aditi, to the program. Let me also welcome a team of reporters. Akshay Dongre is joining us from Ranchi, Jharkhand, and Shama is joining us from Mumbai, Maharashtra. Good morning and welcome to both of you. Aditi, let me come to you first. Talking about Jharkhand and Maharashtra, big election results. What is at stake in these elections? How do you see it?
See, the first thing that is at stake is the reputation of stalwarts from across these two states. Because you see, in Jharkhand, the Chief Minister Hemant Soren is contesting, former Chief Minister Champai Soren is contesting against the JMM, his former party, and he had switched over. So in Maharashtra, you see, the X factor, of course, we all know, we've debated it for a long time now, is that, there is the NCP that is divided now, and then there's the Shiv Sena that's divided now. Today, I think the voters will cast their ballot to declare which Shiv Sena is real or which NCP is real, because the real test in democracy of who is the inheritor of a political legacy of a leader such as Balasaheb Thackeray or, Sharad Pawar, is the court of the people. So the reputations of bigwigs are at stake. Also in Maharashtra, what is at stake is who will be the big Maratha leader going forward. Because you see, there is a sort of fluidity in Maharashtra politics, we all know that, and Maratha politics is extremely volatile right now. Maratha quota agitation has lent, more momentum to this particular narrative. So is Chief Minister Eknath Shinde the real Maratha leader, or is Uddhav Thackeray the real Maratha leader? Who is the real chief of the Shiv Sena? Who is, worthy of the legacy of Balasaheb Thackeray. So on the individual level, the political reputations of these stalwarts are at stake. At the party level, of course, Shubhendu, we all know what is at stake is the entire political career of, I would say, Rahul Gandhi, because he has lost, he was leading the campaign in Haryana and he lost an easy state. Two-term anti-incumbency could not be converted into votes by the Congress, even though the exit polls had predicted a big win for the Congress. But we all know that the BJP struck a hat-trick. So what will happen to the India bloc going forward? If they lose both the states, they lose the momentum that they had gained in the Lok Sabha. But if the India bloc manages to reverse, the BJP's winning streak, then of course it takes them further into the next year's election cycle when you have a very important state going to polls, Delhi.
Right.
Shubhendu.
Absolutely. Let's now go across to our reporters, get some updates on the ground. Akshay, let's come to you first. Akshay is joining us from Ranchi, Jharkhand. Tell us how the state is geared up for the big counting day.
Well, Shubhendu, let me show you around where I'm standing, and this is in fact the counting center for the district of Ranchi, which is also the capital. So you can see all the kind of arrangements that have been done. It seems like the entire polling booth, the counting booth has been fortified by the police personnel, by the Central Armed Police Forces that are here. Heavily armed guards are also present. There are several police officers that are present all around. So you can see party volunteers, police officials checking the people who are getting inside the polling booth. There are signs that say that there are certain items that will be restricted, including mobile phones, any kind of sharp objects. So all of those guidelines have also been laid out here right at the gate, so that people, you can see, taking out their belts, people taking out their mobile phones, leaving it outside the counting center. So no interference at all at any level is acceptable as far as this polling booth is concerned. In fact, when it comes to the functioning of Election Commission of India, this is the modus operandi almost everywhere across the country, and there are utmost measures taken to ensure that no kind of interference is done as far as the procedure of counting is concerned, so that people, the polling officials as well as the public can be rest assured regarding the authenticity of the counting, and there can be no interference as far as the procedure is concerned. And that is why the heavy security that you see is not just here, but it's all over the places where the counting is taking place. So that is one aspect of it. The other aspect also remains the kind of security that has been beefed up across the state. Now, Jharkhand has been struggling with Naxal problem for several decades, and there have been certain issues, there have been certain sensitive areas, and in those areas as well, different deployments are required and have been done by the Election Commission as well, depending on what kind of sensitivity and what kind of threat perception is there. So that remains for the entire state, and that is why elaborate arrangements have been done, not only at the part of the armed forces, but also at the part of the counting officials of the Election Commission of India that are in fact the backbone of this entire procedure. Back to you, Shubhendu.
Right. Akshay, also give us some insight into the political contest. What kind of challenge does incumbent Chief Minister Hemant Soren faces from a BJP alliance?
Well, Shubhendu, it's very interesting to see that Babulal Marandi, who was also the first Chief Minister of the state, is contesting against the incumbent Chief Minister. The incumbent Chief Minister, as we had our expert talking about, has certain challenges when it comes to this polling. It's not just the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha and the Congress Party alliance that is facing the issues of the anti-incumbency, but also there are certain aspects that the Bharatiya Janata Party has been highlighting as far as the problems, the core issues of the state are concerned. And one of the most important issues that has in fact taken center stage this time around has been infiltration into the state, especially of Rohingya population that has been infiltrating from Bangladesh, and that had become a core issue for many people as well. There is populism, that one issue, in certain areas. Communalism has also been an issue in the state. Infrastructure development, stagnancy when it comes to the building of roads of state, the stagnancy in terms of development work has taken a center stage, and that is why it seems that Hemant Soren is going to face significant challenge from Babulal Marandi, the first Chief Minister of the state, who diverged from the BJP at a point of time, but then again merged his party, the Jharkhand Vikas Morcha, once again with the BJP, and is now touted as the chief ministerial face. So it remains to be seen whether the Congress and the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha will be able to repeat their performance of 2019 election, where they managed to get 46 seats together, and this time around the focus will also be on how the return of Babulal Marandi to the party, to the Bharatiya Janata Party, will give a boost to the party, and what kind of permutation and combinations will be made, Shubhendu, to win the state.
Let's now go across to Shama, who's joining us from Mumbai, home to Bollywood. And Shama, like a Bollywood potboiler, a clash of multi-star alliances in Maharashtra.
Well, yes, and this clash is all set to, unravel itself, because today is the D-Day, and we understand that the polling pattern, and as you are aware, as you must have read, that within the last 2 hours of the polling that was held on November 20, the percentage actually got higher, and we also understanding that this time in a lot of constituencies, in a lot of seats, the polling percentage of women voters have also been higher. So we can understand what has been the pattern and how the political decisions or policies have affected the voters' pattern or the voters' mindset. Now, while we are talking about the unraveling of today's D-Day, it's 8 a.m. already, and the counting has begun, and as you've already mentioned that the postal ballots will be counted first, and all the polling centers are totally geared up. Totally heavy security is deployed at all the 288 centers in Maharashtra. In Mumbai itself, there are 36, Mumbai city and Mumbai suburban, there are 36 counting centers, and totally under the control of police, and we are also understanding that the EVMs are also being brought there from the strong rooms. Apart from that, we are understanding that the exit polls are saying one thing, which is the majority will fall in the kitty of M Mahayuti, that is BJP Shiv Sena of Eknath Shinde and NCP of Ajit Pawar. However, if we are to take lessons from the Lok Sabha elections and Lok Sabha exit polls, we are not to totally rely on this, because we did see a twist and turn in the exit polls results last Lok Sabha. So we'll have to wait and watch and wait for the trends that are coming out from the ECI website. We are also understanding that there have been statements coming out from the Maha Vikas Aghadi, and they are also confident of their win. Some of them have went on saying, including Sharad Pawar and Sanjay Raut, the NCP, Sharad Pawar, he is the supremo of NCP, and also Sanjay Raut, he is the Shiv Sena UBT leader. They have gone on saying that the Maha Vikas Aghadi will be easily securing more than 157 to 162 seats in this particular assembly elections, which is obviously far-fetched and very confident. But yes, we will have to wait and watch. But there is one thing, if you're talking about currently where I am standing right now, this is the Congress office, Congress headquarters in Mumbai, one of the major offices, and this is totally empty. So we are still waiting for any top leader, any major leader from the Congress party to come here and at least tell us what will happen throughout the day. However, this is not the same scenario at other offices in like the BJP. So, there is also
Shama, we'll also have to look at the trends now.
An understanding.
Shama, stay with us while we look at those initial trends that are coming in of the postal ballots for both Maharashtra and Jharkhand. We're, of course, flashing it at the bottom of the screen for you to look at. But let's look at the trends that are coming in. First counting has begun for the state assembly elections in Jharkhand and Maharashtra. Let's also look at those initial numbers as they're coming in. These are postal ballots first. Maharashtra voted for 288 assembly seats. Election held on November 20th. Let's look at the trends as they're coming in. The trends for Jharkhand, out of 81 seats, 9 seats trends are coming in. BJP ahead on 5, AJSU on 1, JMM on 3 seats. Maharashtra, BJP leading on 20 seats and Congress on 3. Maharashtra BJP's Devendra Fadnavis is leading at the moment. These are initial trends coming in. Just the postal ballots that are counted in the first half an hour as we see it. Nana Patole is leading from the Sakoli seat in Maharashtra. The initial trends have just sort of started coming in. Now 31 seat strengths are coming in Maharashtra. For Jharkhand, about 10 seats out of 81 trends are on. BJP is leading on 20 seats as we speak. The Congress on 3. BJP's Devendra Fadnavis, former Chief Minister, later Deputy Chief Minister, is leading on his seat at the moment. Nana Patole is leading from the Sakoli seats. In Jharkhand, also trends are coming in for 11 seats out of 81. BJP there also sharply ahead on 7 seats. Meanwhile, Maharashtra, BJP is leading on 20 seats, Congress on 3. Sharma is with us from Mumbai. Sharma, those initial leads for the BJP sharply ahead. These are, of course, just initial leads, postal ballots, but important contest also taking place between the two Shiv Senas and the two NCPs.
Well, yes, Shubhendu, and as the guest in the studio, she mentioned that this is a real test, and the results of this test will prove which is the real NCP and which is the real Shiv Sena, because all this while, since the breakup of these two parties, separation of these two parties, everyone has been, criticizing, and each party faction has been saying that their own faction is the real Shiv Sena or the real NCP. So we will have to see how it goes, because the Lok Sabha elections, if we are to consider that, we did see that after Congress, it was Uddhav Thackeray who got more seats than Eknath Shinde. So we will have to see over here as well. Also talking about the strongholds of these stalwarts, as you were mentioning, that Congress, the Congress stalwart Nana Patole, he is winning from Sakole. So these are areas which is considered to be their strongholds, and no matter what, how the political scenario is changing, they will obviously win, because they have that affiliation with the people, they have their connection with the people. So in Mumbai also, there are so many seats, including the seat in Malabar Hill, where Mangal Prabhat Lodha, he is standing. He is the minister as well of the state. So he's been winning since six
Right,
six
Sharma,
times.
we'll look at those key seats and candidates in the conversation ahead. Aditi, I'd like to come to you for a quick comment. Looking at Maharashtra and the initial trends as they're coming in, your thoughts on the manner in which BJP appears to be, at least for these postal ballots, racing ahead, and what are lessons that they must have learned from the Lok Sabha elections? A similar contest took place there, at least the alliances.
It's a very interesting scenario, Shubhendu, because if you look at Haryana, the BJP replicated a lot of what it did in Haryana for Maharashtra. For example, to start with, they went into the election with a popular community leader. In Haryana, they had Nayab Singh Saini, whom they did not change for elections. He stayed the chief minister. He was repeated as the chief minister. Similarly, in Maharashtra, they have Eknath Shinde as the chief minister. It's very uncharacteristic of the BJP to go into an election with an ally as CM. So that was part of the strategic decision. In fact, that was the first political call the Prime Minister took when the party started planning for Maharashtra. So community equations were sorted out because a Maratha leader was projected. Devendra Fadnavis is a Brahmin. So he has his limitations in Maharashtra politics. That was the first thing. So they gained that, community edge by promoting Eknath Shinde as the face of the alliance. Secondly, what they did was the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh openly campaigned for the party in Maharashtra. Everybody who's been to the field knows that Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, which openly campaigned the last time for the BJP, was at the time of emergency. So I can say for a fact that the cadres of the Sangh were out in the streets. They were unapologetic about it. They were open about it. Posters were there. Everything was there. Thirdly, what I saw was why the BJP seems to be having an edge. These are early trends, so that has to be stated clearly, is that they got the strategies right. For example, in Haryana, they dropped a lot of MLAs because they had done their surveys that dropping MLAs will help. In Maharashtra, they adopted an opposite strategy, retaining most MLAs. So, the strategies were in place, alliance was largely cohesive, and the political narratives were mixed. So you had a Yogi Adityanath saying something, in his own polarizing style, of course. Then you had Amit Shah going to Maharashtra to release the manifesto. So you had a bouquet of promises in the manifesto. And I think the swing vote in both states, in fact, as we go forward, we'll realize could be the women voters, because they are the ones who have of late started turning the election winds. We saw it in Madhya Pradesh, where most exit polls had predicted a Congress victory, but you had the BJP
important to mention
win.
that record number of voter turnout has been registered in Maharashtra in particular.
Women votes.
Most in 3 decades. Aditi, also the manner in which the alliances again in Maharashtra are stitched up, these are alliances that the state has never seen before. Differing, almost opposing ideologies packed together into alliances. There is a NCP, Shiv Sena and a BJP, and there's a Congress, Shiv Sena and NCP. How does that play out? This is something that the state has never seen before.
It's a very interesting question, Shubhendu, and a very incisive one. There are no easy answers to this, except that power brings people together. The only glue on both sides seems to be staying in power. Why did Uddhav Thackeray leave a mandate that was given for the BJP and Shiv Sena in 2019? It was a mandate for a pre-poll alliance of the BJP and Shiv Sena. But he did not have qualms about betraying the BJP at the time for the Chief Minister's chair, and he easily shifted his sides and went with ideologically opposite NCP, ideologically opposite Congress. Now, fast forward to 2022, you have an Eknath Shinde splitting the Shiv Sena. Of course, Shiv Sena and BJP are ideological brothers, so there is no problem in them coming together. But Ajit Pawar coming to the BJP is interesting. So what brings them together? In fact, the role of Sharad Pawar, the NCP Supremo, is extremely interesting, because Ajit Pawar has been saying for a long time that Mr. Pawar, Senior Pawar, was part of the discussions to join the BJP openly for a very long time. And these have been discussions in the public domain. So what my understanding says is that Mr. Pawar, Sharad Pawar, has a very convenient take on politics, that we have internal democracy and we are all right to stay in NCP, Sharad Chandra Pawar, myself, my daughter Supriya Sule, my nephew Yogendra Pawar. And it's fine if Ajit Pawar wants to go to the BJP. It's his right. It's an internal democracy party. So he's free to take his call. So it's a very convenient family,
Right. Let's get some updates from Maharashtra, from Mumbai. I'm told from outside BJP office. My colleague Shishir Shelar is joining us from Mumbai, Maharashtra. Shishir, those very sharp initial leads for the BJP. What is the mood at the party office?
Well, absolutely. At this time, all the parties are quite cautious here. Right now, I'm standing in front of BJP office, and let me show you one of the banner which has been put in outside the BJP office. It shows that the results of Haryana is just a trailer, but the main picture will come out in Maharashtra, and that's probably what we're going to see when the earlier numbers are going to come in Maharashtra, which shows that the BJP has got a higher numbers here. Obviously, many answers of the questions going to get in today in Maharashtra, so especially particularly these questions remain to who are the favorite in Maharashtra. I'm talking in perspective of the two important parties, that is NCP and Shiv Sena, two factions we have seen in last few months here. And that's the reason now the main question is that which faction has got maximum vote here. That the question actually was arising in Maharashtra's political arena since last 2.5 years. Probably you've seen where the Shiv Sena has got the two different parties, and NCP is also divided into two. And probably today we'll get some of the answers here. But the other important factors that this in Maharashtra, probably the battle of the narrative as well. If you go back to the parliament election in April, and probably that time we have seen the narrative set by the Mahavikas Aghadi and the India Alliance. They've got the benefit of it. As a result, we have seen here that the BJP has got only half of the seat what they've got in 2019 parliamentary election. And since then, BJP is very cautious about it. What they have done is absolute micromanagement in all the assembly constituencies. At the same time, the allied partners that they have, the Shiv Sena, Shinde camp, and of course Ajit Pawar, NCP camp also, all these two parties also BJP has got gel quite well, and that's the reason probably we may see this time around some of the different numbers. Obviously, the numbers that we are seeing right now are not the final numbers, but probably we may see that these are the initial trends. And as I'm talking to you, and as I told you already, that the micromanagement is what the BJP and the Mahayuti alliance is more focused on. That's the reason we may see some of the different results. But of course, this is not a quite easy task for the Mahavikas Aghadi, because in Maharashtra it's quite a neck-to-neck fight. That's what most of the political pundits have already explained. Various factors in Maharashtra, the people have actually kept in mind before casting their vote. First of all, of course, the caste issue in Maharashtra, which has raised the Maratha reservation factor, predominantly in the Marathwada region, we can say, that may decide the fate of the candidates there. Apart from that, the farmer issues also, the MSP issue, particularly in Vidarbha region, also quite the important aspect where the farmers is quite keeping close tab on it. The second important aspect, the popular schemes announced by the government. Obviously, the current government have announced most of the popular scheme here, keeping in mind the women voters. At the same time, we may have seen that the Congress have also eyed for it, and that's the reason when they announced their manifesto, we have seen the same replica of those schemes here with added numbers, and of course,
right,
what the India Alliance and Congress have said that they will implement this. So obviously, these are important factors that based in Maharashtra as election when people will see to it, and that's the reason. Be it Mahayuti or Mahavikas Agadi, both the alliances have tried really hard to get people attention on all these issues. Now, of course, the election have already taken place here. Today, we'll see the result that how people have convinced, with the poll promises these political party have made.
Right, Shishir, please do continue to stay with us while we get some updates from Jharkhand, Ranchi as well. Akshay continues to be there from outside a polling booth. Akshay, the exit polls predicted a very close contest, but these initial trends that we're looking at, BJP also moving sharply ahead in these postal ballots in Jharkhand as well. How are you tracking the trends?
Well, you're absolutely right. In fact, Shubhendu, when we talk about the exit polls, the elections in Haryana especially have told one thing, that the exit polls cannot be right all the times, and in fact they were absolutely wrong when it came to the kind of predictions that they made with showing a sort of a victory for the India Alliance. However, when the results came out, they were absolutely opposite to what the exit polls were saying. So while yes, you are right that the exit polls were showing that there will be a tight contest between the India Alliance as well as and the NDA. However, the trends that we are seeing is giving a strong lead to the BJP and its allies in the state. And now these were certain factors that were quite evident when it comes to a state like Jharkhand and the issues that the people are facing. Because Shubhendu, when you talk about the kind of 5 years that have gone by, under Hemant Soren and the Congress party, they have not seen a lot of development for a state, for one of the youngest state of India, Jharkhand. Jharkhand requires a lot of things. Jharkhand requires roads, Jharkhand requires hospitals, Jharkhand requires good quality education, colleges, probably universities, good medical institutes. And if you look at the last 5 years, not much has been done when it comes to a state like Jharkhand is concerned. The only factors that were the key focus were probably when it comes to the natural resources were about taking things from Jharkhand and not giving it back to the state, and that is what the people have been saying, that the Jharkhand hasn't gotten its fair share of development when it comes to the Hemant Soren government is concerned in the last 5 years. So that has been a major polling issue, along with infiltration issue that has been rigged up by the people time and again. So it seems that has hit the poll prospects of
That's right, Akshay,
and government, against the first chief minister of the state, Babulal Marandi, who is also contesting this time.
That's right, Akshay. Please do stay with us. Some 34 seats trends are coming in out of 81 in Jharkhand. BJP leading on 19. Aditi, again, looking at the political background of Jharkhand, since its formation, a state so badly in need of development interventions, political stability is something that it has been craving. Some 9 different governments across 14 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
In fact, news just coming in. I think news is coming in. Maharashtra BJP is leading on 10 seats. Meanwhile, Jharkhand BJP is leading on the Nala seat. JMM won the seat last time. There's a sharp lead that the BJP is maintaining. BJP's Amit Kumar Mandal leading from the Goda Assembly seat in Jharkhand. Those are updates coming in from the eastern state of Jharkhand as we speak. BJP's Narayan Das also leading from the Deoghar reserve seat. 81 assembly seats in Jharkhand to be taken. 41 simple majority. BJP is leading on 20 seats. Some over 34 seats trends have just come in. These are initial trends. The EVM counting would have started at 8:30. JMM Hemant Soren's party is leading on 7 seats. Jharkhand, the BJP, like Maharashtra, maintaining a sharp initial lead. It's leading on the Nala seat. JMM won the seat last time. Amit Kumar Mandal is leading from the Goda Assembly seat. That's the update coming in from the eastern state of Jharkhand. Aditi, the point that I was mentioning about the kind of political stability that the state has been craving for multiple governments in the initial years of its formation, then some semblance of stability with Hemant Soren's government, but again, serious charges of corruption that he had to face.
Yeah, I think Jharkhand has never really politically settled down so far. In fact, that has been one of the major political narratives of the BJP in Jharkhand, that you need political stability for development because that's the first ingredient of sustainable development. Jharkhand, of course, you know, as one of your correspondents was mentioning, a hotbed of Naxal terror. And a lot of efforts have been made in Jharkhand in order to stem that kind of Naxal terrorism. And Union Home Minister has repeatedly said that Naxalism in India is on its last legs. So that's a very heartening sign for a state like Jharkhand. But the point is whether the electorate of Jharkhand will deliver a decisive verdict today, because that is what will determine the trajectory of development going forward. As you very correctly said, that stability and lack of stability is the difference between development and lack of development. So going forward, you have to see that you have political stability, and BJP has made that pitch during its election speeches. All the leaders have said it. Plus, most importantly, Shubhendu, the factor that has gone a little unnoticed in Jharkhand is, you know, the lack of realization of aspirations of the scheduled tribes, because it's a scheduled tribe dominated area.
Yes.
And in fact, when all parties conducted their surveys before the Jharkhand elections this time, they realized that STs are the decisive factor in Jharkhand. And that was the reason that even the BJP tweaked its entire election strategy to focus on alleged illegal immigration into the Santhal Pargana region, which became the main political plank of the BJP in Jharkhand. Now, how does Hemant Soren counter that? So it was a clash of identities. On one side, it is the BJP saying that the tribal identity is being undermined, that the tribal population is decreasing across the state.
Right.
And in fact, the state high court is hearing a very important case on this illegal immigration, where the MHA has in its affidavit submitted that the proportion of tribals in Jharkhand's population has come down from 44% in 1951 to 22% now. So what are the reasons? You have to assess the causes. How do you assess the causes? Only when you have a government which wants to assess the causes.
Right, but Aditi, Hemant Soren also uses the tribal card as a personal defense for all the charges of corruption. He makes it about Adivasi pride. How do you see that playing out? Each side using that particular tribal
So see,
card.
when I look at the trends, Shubhendu, that appear to be going in favor of the BJP, what I realize is that you can perpetrate, you know, dynastic legacy. What is Hemant Soren? He is the son of Shibu Soren, who was the leader of the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha movement, the father of the Jharkhand state. Shibu Soren was a stalwart in his own right, but how much and for how long will you exploit the fact that you are the son of Shibu Soren? What is your identity beyond that? So there is an expiry date to all kinds of narratives. Of course, Hemant Soren is a tribal. Of course, he is the son of Shibu Soren. But beyond that, what is he? Has he delivered for the tribals? So I think now is the time when the scheduled castes of the state would have, by now I mean, would have started actually assessing whether the tribal legacy which Hemant Soren represents means anything to them, or does it mean everything to him?
Right.
So that's the difference.
Right. So such outcomes of who's going to be the final face and representative of the tribal aspirations is going to be decided. Aditi, thanks very much for now for joining us. We'll keep coming back to you in the course of our programming. Thank you also to our reporters Akshay, Shishir and Shama. We'll keep connecting to you through the day as more trends coming in. But still to come on DD India News Hour. Indian Army Chief General Dwivedi calls on Nepal's Prime Minister KP Oli. In the US, Donald Trump continues appointment for top administrative position, picks Besant as Treasury Secretary and Chavez de Rema as the Labor Secretary.
Nakwana Namaste. The long wait of 17 years is finally over as the plane of Prime Minister Narendra Modi touches down Abuja. The voice of Global South is amplified in Nigeria. The mother of democracy meeting the largest democracy of Africa.
ये सिर्फ मोदी का सम्मान नहीं है, ये सम्मान भारत के करोड़ों लोगों का।
What special program India-Nigeria strengthening relations on Saturday at 5 p.m. IST only on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Russian President Vladimir Putin on Friday announced Russia would continue testing the hypersonic missiles which were launched at Ukraine the previous day. The initiate mass production of the new missile system, Putin added that there are no countermeasure exists for such missiles. No means of intercepting it are available anywhere in the world today. Further, he also emphasized that testing of this newest system will continue and the establishment of serial production is deemed necessary.
Yesterday, I informed the personnel of the armed forces, citizens of Russia, our allies around the world, as well as those who are trying to blackmail us with force about the newest Russian medium-range missile system. This is your complex, which you call Oreshnik. This is a ballistic missile in a non-nuclear hypersonic equipment. As we know from the analysis of objective control data, the tests were successful. And as has already been said, we will continue these tests, including in combat conditions, depending on the situation and the nature of the security threats that are created for Russia.
Meanwhile, Ukraine's President Zelensky has described Russia's use of new missile as an escalation. He stated that meetings are already being held by Minister of Defense of Ukraine with their partners regarding new air defense systems that are capable of protecting lives from new risks. He also emphasized that vigilance must be maintained by Ukrainians. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has said Russia's strike on Ukrainian city of Dnipro with the new intermediate range missile has frightened Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. DD India's Abhishek Bose brings us more.
Ukraine's parliament cancelled its session on Friday over Russia's launching of an intercontinental ballistic missile on the central Ukrainian city of Dnipro. Russia said the strike on Ukraine was designed as a message to the West against its support to Ukraine. In a defiant message to the West, Russian President Vladimir Putin said that Moscow has the right to strike countries whose weapons are used by Ukraine to hit Russian territory. He threatened that the prospect of further strikes depends on the actions of the United States and its satellites.
I repeat, the Oreshnik missile systems are being tested in combat conditions by us in response to the aggressive actions of NATO countries against Russia. The question of further deployment of medium-range and shorter-range missiles will be decided by us depending on the actions of the United States and its satellites.
Now, after Putin's warning to the West, Sweden said it will not be intimidated by Russia's provocations. Sweden also announced substantial funding to Ukraine for the procurement of long-range missiles and drones.
The Russian escalation and provocation, also that we've been noticing recently, is also an attempt to scare us to support Ukraine, and that will fail. The Swedish government is ready to contribute with substantial funding for the mass production of long-range missiles and drones. We will support the Ukraine defense industry by funding the procurement of these long-range missiles and drones.
Ukraine said it's increasing its air defense capabilities. Meanwhile, NATO and Ukraine will hold emergency talks next week after Russia's hypersonic ballistic missile attack that escalated nearly 33-month-old war. Abhishek Bose for DD India.
And shifting focus to United States, the judge in Donald Trump's criminal hush money case on Friday delayed his sentencing indefinitely. The judge overseeing Trump's criminal hush money trial has adjourned his sentencing, which was set for next Tuesday. The judge also granted Trump's request to file a motion to dismiss the case, ordering his legal team to submit their papers by December 2nd, and prosecutors have a week to respond. Trump was convicted in May this year on 34 felony counts involving hush money paid to an adult film star. Meanwhile, US President-elect Donald Trump continues to nominate allies for his new White House term. Trump picked prominent investor Scott Bessent to take the role of US Treasury Secretary on Friday. Trump, in a statement, said Scott is widely respected as one of the world's foremost international investors and geopolitical and economic strategists. A longtime hedge fund manager, Bessent has publicly called for steep cuts to government spending. He, like Trump, advocates tariffs, viewing them as a way to raise revenue and protect American industries. And Congresswoman Lori Chavez de Rima of Oregon was named by Trump to serve as his labor secretary. Trump said Chavez de Rima has worked tirelessly with business and labor to build the U.S. workforce and support Americans. Chavez de Rima, who was elected to Congress in 2022, lost her seat to Democrat Janelle Bynum earlier this month. And former NFL player Scott Turner was nominated by President-elect for the position of Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, a key issue in these elections. Trump, in a statement, credited Turner with helping to lead an unprecedented effort that transformed our country's most distressed communities. More names are coming in. US President-elect named Dave Weldon as his choice to serve as Director of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Weldon is a medical doctor, former lawmaker, who served in the US House of Representatives representing Florida. And Trump has also chosen Ross Watt to be the director of the US Office of Management and Budget. It's a powerful agency that helps decide the president's policy priorities and how to pay for them. Watt would play a major role in setting budget priorities and implementing Donald Trump's campaign promise to roll back government regulations. Moving on, Nicaraguan parliament approved a constitutional reform on Friday that increased the power of President Daniel Ortega, his wife and vice president, and strengthened the authority of the police and the military. The reform boosts the president's control over the media, extends the presidential term to 6 years, and designates the president and the vice president as co-presidents. The wife of President Ortega, Rosario Murillo, will assume the position of co-president. Under the new structure, the co-presidents will control the legislature, judiciary, electoral system, public administration, oversight bodies, and autonomous organizations. The reform also ensures that media outlets remain free from foreign influence and prevent the spread of false information. Let's now turn to other stories making news around the world. White Helmets volunteers bring smiles to Syrian children with an educational puppet show. The mobile theatre visits the displacement camps in northwest Syria, teaching important lessons through performances. Organizers say the initiative spreads hope amid hardship. French farmers blockaded a Carrefour logistics hub near Toulouse, protesting the Mercosur trade deal concerns. The Coordination Rural Union criticized unfair competition from agricultural imports. Demonstrators demand protection for local farmers' interests. And Hong Kong launched an AI Innovation and Technology Training Center at Cyberport, co-founded by Baidu, AI Cloud, and Shenfan. The center will host training programs by 2025 next year, supporting AI development. Chief Executive John Lee emphasized the project's role in advancing Hong Kong's IT sector. India's Chief of Army Staff, General Upendra Dwivedi, during his 5 days-long visit to Nepal, called on Prime Minister of Nepal, KP Sharma Oli, and Defence Minister of Nepal, Manbir Rai. He discussed various aspects and the unique and close bilateral defence cooperation between India and Nepal. Prime Minister Oli expressed happiness over the continuity of the exchange of conferring the title of Honorary General to the Chief of Army Staff of India, and the same being reciprocated with Nepal as a welcome tradition. On the occasion, General Dwivedi expressed belief that he would play his part for the expansion of the bilateral relations. The discussions related to the third review of the International Monetary Fund IMF program successfully concluded in Sri Lanka on Friday. The final meeting was held at the Presidential Secretariat. It involved a delegation from the IMF led by Senior Mission Chief Peter Brewer and a Sri Lankan government delegation headed by Deputy Minister of Economic Development Professor Anil Jayanta Fernando. The IMF team is visiting Sri Lanka to assess economic policies, progress on ongoing reforms and implementation of previous agreements. The global lender is expected to release the next installment of loan worth $330 million to the island nation. Turn to some sporting action. India are on course to taking a big lead on day 2 of the first test after Harshit Rana dismissed Nathan Lyon to reduce Australia down to their last wicket. Starting on day 2, Jasprit Bumrah struck with his very first ball of the day with all-important wicket of Alex Carey. Cricket fans could not have asked for a better start to the highly anticipated Border Gavaskar Trophy, with 17 wickets falling on day 1 of the play and setting up what is certain to be an absolute classic of a low-scoring test match between India and Australia. On day 1, India's stand-in captain Jasprit Bumrah stole the show with the ball as Australia ended the day teetering at 67 for the loss of 7 wickets after India were bundled out for 150. Australia is the focus country this time at the 55th edition of IFFI. Many Australian films are getting premiered this time at the event. Lead India's Deepika gets you an exclusive report from Goa on the country of focus and how Australian filmmakers are taking this as an opportunity, a special one for themselves.
The 55th edition of International Film Festival of India has a strong emphasis on sharing cinema with the world. And this time, the country of focus is Australia. Speaking on being the country of focus, Australian film director Tom McKeith shared his views on how this will provide a perfect opportunity to the Australian cinema.
Look, there's a big Indian population in Australia, and we watch quite a lot of Indian films in our country as well as American films as well. And I think the big opportunity for us, because we're a small country with a small market, is an opportunity to reach a larger audience. And if we can create films that can appeal to both countries, then that's certainly a benefit to Australians and to filmmakers, because we have the opportunity to share our stories with a wider audience. So I think that's a really exciting thing, and why I think collaboration between the two countries really makes sense and could be of value to everybody.
IFFI celebrating Australian cinema, highlighting the growing connections between India and Australia as both the nations continue to strengthen their cultural and screen industry ties. The Australian delegation includes key industry leaders from Screen Australia, Ozfilm, Screen Producers Australia, and a host of filmmakers, producers and creatives who are participating in the Film Bazaar and IFFI screenings. IFFI provides a perfect platform to the Indian cinema that allows them to connect with the world cinema and vice versa. India happens to be the country of focus, this time at the 55th edition of IFFI. With camera person Alok, this is Deepika reporting for DD India from Goa.
And before we close, let's take a cursory glance at how the counting is coming along for the big states of Jharkhand and Maharashtra. Those are the updates that are coming in. 92 out of 288 seats leads we are looking at for Maharashtra. BJP leading on 51. Shiv Sena on 12, NCP on 6, Congress on 8, Shiv Sena Uddhav faction on 5 seats, NCP Sharad Pawar on 7. Others are yet to open the account. Those are initial updates that's coming in. Also, let's take a look at the manner in which Jharkhand counting is panning out. 81 assembly seats, leads on 40 seats have come up. BJP again sharply ahead on 21 seats. AJSU on 5 seats, alliance partner of the BJP. JMM, Hemant Soren's party, on 11 seats. The Congress leading on 3. Well, that's the update that is coming in at the moment from Maharashtra and Jharkhand. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan this QR code on your screens to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.